Here. So, we'll wait for people to jump on. I'm Fancy Nancy. They managed to get me in front of the camera again. I did a school lunch one a while ago.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was before school started. But it's fun. I'm kind of excited to be here and with you, Bree.
Hey, put your hair down.
I put part of my hair down. I was like, I was not planning on being on camera today.
Me either.
The baby helps, right?
With his drool.
With the drool. Well, so Bree's our CEO of the Wellness Way, and we've talked a lot of different times just in her office about her story, and not necessarily her Wellness Way story, but like your life story, being a mom.
Yeah.
Your mom with 3 kids now.
3.
Jackson is
3 months, going on 8.
Oh. So Bree's going to share a little bit of her story because we've talked about it a few different times, and it was really cool for me to hear it because you know when you live the story, you don't think about how it sounds to everybody else who's never heard it before.
Yeah.
And then you say your own story often enough that it doesn't seem that crazy because
it doesn't seem like impactful,
right.
you know.
Right.
Well, we were down traveling to Nashville 2 weeks ago, and to our office, Dr. Justin and Dr. Courtney Mosley. They have an office down there in Music City Health Center, and one of their staff is pregnant, first-time mom. I think she was 6, 7, 8 months pregnant, something like that. And she said to me, "Do you have any tips?" And I'm like,
No, I don't.
No, I don't have tips. And then we started talking, and an hour later, they're going, "Anybody want to see patients today or come to the front desk?" And I started thinking, I guess I do have somewhat of a story to tell.
Yeah, and you haven't always been crunchy.
No.
Like that's kind of the term, right? For a
crunchy. Yeah,
crunchy mom.
Crunchy. I like to do different levels of crunchiness. Right. So to me, like the homemade menstrual cups and pads, that's super crunchy. I'm like not that crunchy yet.
Home birth is too crunchy for you too?
I actually, we'll get into that. That's a good question. I love the idea of home birth. I am a VBAC, or I should say I have VBACs, which for those that don't know means vaginal birth after cesarean. Okay. So 12 and a half years ago, well 13 years ago, I found out I was pregnant. I was 16, so it was definitely not planned by any means, and I had this great doctor, you know, this OBGYN, and I just went to every appointment, right? And did what they said. Yep. And I gave up caffeine. So I thought that I'm getting ornery, somebody's tired. I gave up caffeine, and I thought that this was good, right? I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, and I had.
They're giving me the sign that they cannot hear me.
What's up, buddy?
Am I unmuted?
Could we not hear you the whole time?
I see you. Could you hear me at all? That was my English accent there.
Could you hear me at all?
Could you hear me at all? I read Peppa Pig books to the kids. And I read them with the accent.
I think we're good.
Oh.
Awesome.
So I keep holding it like this. So what were you saying?
So, you know,
you're supposed to. You gave up
did what I was
caffeine.
supposed to do. I gave up caffeine. I stopped drinking soda. I thought it was great. Very, very high stress pregnancy. Obviously working full time and attending high school full time. And I was bound and determined when I got pregnant that I wasn't going to be the 16 and pregnant mom. So I went to the other end of the spectrum, and I was insisting I was getting straight A's and all this stuff. So I actually went into labor 5 weeks early, and very high stress pregnancy. I worked at a cafe at the time and lived on their food. So it was actually chicken fried steak and mashed potatoes, you can only imagine. I was up to date on all my vaccines, and I was actually on Adderall, 20 milligrams 4 times a day.
And that's for like ADHD?
That's for ADHD. And the doctors told me, it's totally fine, you know, go through this pregnancy. So I had ended up going.
You didn't go off of that when you were pregnant?
I did not go off of it. Nope. I added in my prenatals and I stayed on it. Okay. And then I had a baby girl via emergency C-section.
Is that scary? 5 weeks early. That sounds.
It's surreal now.
Especially when you're 16.
I was 16, 17 when I had her. Give me an extra year here. And so she came out, and of course we had all the complications from the C-section. I had gotten infected in my scar site. So no big deal. I'm thankful for the C-section. They do not try to turn her at all. Now I know so much more. Of course she was breached, that's why I had the C-section. So not for uterine rupture or anything like that. So I had her, and she was breastfeeding, and it was going great. I had more than enough milk, and she was very...
School at this time?
Yes.
Like super mom?
Yes. Well, it was summer, so I was the summer before my senior year.
Okay. Wow.
And and had her, and she was gassy. She was a gassy baby, which all my babies have been. And so the doctor said, put her on formula. You know, let's not have a 16-year-old with all this free milk and all this wonderful stuff breastfeed. Let's do formula.
Right.
So I didn't know any different, so I put her on formula. Of course, we started the rice cereal and the carrots at 4 months.
4 months, yeah.
She couldn't even hold up her head barely because she was premature, and yet we were shoving food down her throat because it's what made her sleep, right?
She was so early?
She was 5'14".
Okay.
She did have an APGAR of 7, which jumped to 9. Back when, I don't even know if they do APGARs anymore, but so she didn't need any breathing treatments. I think she was just tiny. I do not think she did not show the signs of a true 5-week-old. Of course, knowing nothing and not having planned, we guessed on her due date based on her size.
Okay.
So
it's kind of all up in the
it's
air.
all up in the air. So she was put on gas drops. She was put on formula. She was vaccinated.
Did the formula help?
I don't think it did. We thought it did because she just grew up. She got older. So yes, a 2-month-old is going to handle milk better than a 1-week-old.
Right.
Their digestive system is growing. So we'll get into her story. Actually, she's going to come in, I think, next week or the week after.
Awesome.
She's got a fun story. She deals with anxiety, food allergies, some big food allergies. We stopped vaccinating her when she was about 2.5.
So you did all the, like, when she
everything.
was born, C-section, it was all the shots?
Yep.
Everything?
Yep, it was all the shots. I took all the meds that they said. I did everything. And she now is she's a great kid, but I would call her health-wise our problem kid.
Yeah.
She can't touch eggs, tuna. She probably will never be able to do eggs. Makes her face break out. Wheat makes her anxiety go crazy. So I feel for her because she's 12 and she has this little brother who's 3. He's our little blonde, and he can eat anything. He can do anything. His immune system is just completely different than hers.
What's the story with your 3-year-old? There's
So
obviously a gap there between
planned, not planned.
the 16 and 3-year-old.
So when Bella was 2, she had major food issues, I should say poop issues as we like to call it.
Yeah.
And we saw a pediatrician. It was a horrible experience, went through a couple different ones. Finally met Dr. Flynn, who won't get into another long story, but my mom, the reason I knew Dr. Flynn is he had saved my mom's life. So trying to get her in to do a testimony. So we've got all these different branches. So I was a patient. I have my own Wellness Way story. We'll do that. Today we'll leave to the birth story. So came in, started switching, and when she was about 3 years old, I started working here, so 9 years ago.
And is that when you found out about her egg and gluten and everything?
I found out about her gluten when I was a patient, and Dr. Flynn told me, go gluten-free. Like, just no big deal. Like, this is 9 years ago that nobody knew what gluten-free meant, right? So that was a game changer for us, and we'll get into her story next week when we do that. Because the doctors told me to put her on Miralax. And I said, for how long? And they said, probably for the rest of her life.
Oh my goodness.
So my mommy instinct, which I trust.
Not normal.
No. I trust everybody to think about it. My mommy instinct said, that's not right. That's not right.
Right.
So thinking through all this, it's giving me ideas of what we're going to release here at the end of this show. But so in a nutshell, I completely switched my diet. I did all my food allergies. I was dealing with leaky gut. About 1.5 years before my wedding, I went on like this health journey of healing my body, knowing that I already had at the time a 6-year-old, so that when I got 7-year-old, when I got married, we wanted kids right away because there was a big gap. Yep. Yeah. So plus I was having all my issues, my digestive issues, not getting out of bed because I was so inflamed and had all these issues and stuff, even though I worked here.
Sure, right.
you know, so I did all my
it
testing.
Doesn't flip that quickly, like.
Well, yeah, and it was, you take care of everybody else before you take care of yourself.
Especially when you're 16 and pregnant.
Yeah. Yeah.
You weren't the top priority, so eventually you were.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I learned, this is what I want to get across. I really thought I was doing everything in my power. Like, I slept good. I took down those stupid horse pill-sized prenatals, you know, the purple-colored. Imagine the dyes in there, purple-colored prenatal. And I gave up soda, and I did all this stuff. I didn't go out. I did everything I possibly. I got straight A's. I got by the book. Yeah. I mean, I Lysoled every door handle. I bleached everything. I used, what do they call that nasty soap? Dreft. I washed all the baby clothes in Dreft, you know. So I did everything. And then I started here, and my mind, I just started learning.
It changes your thinking.
Yeah, which is why I thought I had nothing to say. So you guys have been pushing me for a while.
Yes, we have. And you did one.
I did one and never stopped talking for like 5 minutes straight and was so nervous. And so finally I decided we want to do a new series. And so I thought we have to tell the story of my births because I feel like I'm not an expert. I didn't go to school on this.
Right.
I didn't go to school.
Poop is kind of always on our
mind.
So we replace stool instead of.
So I didn't go to school for this, but then again, back when we were in Nashville, the question, and I thought, I do have a lot to say. So if I break it up in segments, I mean, we all know I could talk for hours, right?
I think we should probably do something.
Yeah,
Some sort of
so
series.
back to my last two births. So before I had Jace and Jackson, so before I had my now 3-year-old, I was here. I was getting regular chiropractic adjustments. I was watching my food always. I was taking the correct nutrients for my body, supplements. I did a detox before I had him. Super important. I did multiple ones, but right before we said, so we got married, went on a honeymoon. I spent 30 days doing a detox, and then it was,
let's get pregnant.
Yeah, let's get pregnant. Unfortunately for my husband, it happened right away. He's like, well, that wasn't any fun. I didn't even try. So yeah, it was instantaneously, and
because
then
you were healthy.
Yeah, healthy, and had an extremely healthy pregnancy. Oh, so with Bella, I had morning sickness like crazy. I actually, my mom, of course living at home, would bring me my morning cereal, Lucky Charms and Fruit Loops.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
No wonder the kid is sick. Yeah.
So you gave up soda and caffeine.
Yeah.
But for breakfast it was Lucky
I would have been
Charms.
better drinking Sprite, you know, the artificial colors.
Lucky Charms for breakfast.
The only way I could get out of bed was for her to bring me my cereal and eat, take my morning dose of Adderall, and then I would go to school. And every morning, I will never forget, I had algebra. Every morning I would get up and I would go and I would puke for the first 4 months. So I just assumed I'm the anomaly. And there are people that just have horrible morning sickness, even though they do the crunchy style, right? But I do relate a lot of my things to where I was at in life. So prep for the body, to have this baby, my last one, and I knew I wanted a VBAC. I did not want a C-section if I did not have to. They're wonderful when they are necessary. I was pushed into just do another one. Why wouldn't you want to? It's just go for it. You've already had one. And I'm like, but that was 9 years ago.
Yeah. And not ideal.
Not ideal. Once I learned the bacteria that they get and the healing and all that stuff needed to kickstart breastfeeding, you know. So I actually had Jace then, and had a wonderful natural vaginal birth. We got to the hospital. I labored a lot at home. But my mom and I actually went out to get water. We would fill these glass water bottles with spring water. Oh, okay. That's like on the super crunchy side.
Super crunchy. I'm like, what do you mean to get water?
I mean, there's levels of crunchiness. So we did, and went to go and eat. We went to the back 40 to the well and
got some spring water.
And I just said something didn't feel right. Yeah. And my husband called me, and he was going to go to his uncle's actually and hang out. And I said, I think maybe we should go home. And we went home, and my labor progressed fast. And got to the hospital, and 2.5 hours later, 0 pain meds, 0 anything, was my birth with VBAC birth. Yeah. With Jace.
With Jace. Wow, that was quick.
It was quick.
2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. It was quick. No pain meds. I did have an episiotomy. And some things I learned, I did not have to have an episiotomy with him. So some different things I learned, you're
Along
constantly growing and along the way.
Or like your birth plan.
Yes.
Sometimes your birth plan goes out the window.
It totally does. And being a VBAC, they put all these stipulations on you. So I feel like I'm cruising through a lot of this, but we're going to touch on this in the weeks to come. Yeah. So then we had Jace, and 2 years later we said, let's do this again. And just like that,
time.
Yep. It's actually been one time almost with all of them. But detox, of course, again, because so I breastfed for 2 years, so you can't detox when you're breastfeeding.
Okay.
So I stopped breastfeeding and took a summer of no babies, no breastfeeding.
Wait, so what was his personality like? Like Bella was super gassy?
Bella was super gassy. She did sleep well. But again, I think that's because all the different things that were going on, the amount of Tylenol and myocillin drops or whatever they call that. Myocon, yes. Ugh.
Is Myocon gas drops? Yeah.
I have no idea why her stomach is destroyed.
But you don't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And I start talking about this, and people have said to me, you just want to make people feel bad that have C-sections. No, I've been there. I've done it all. I've done the gas drops. I've done the Tylenol. I've done the Miralax. I've done it. I've done the antibiotics for I've done it all. And now, that's why I said, I never felt like I was the authority on it. I still don't feel like an authority, but I can tell my story, and this is what I learned. And the proof is in the pudding. So I have this whole, wonderful kid, but tons of different issues still dealing with it at 12. And we've been crunchier organic since she was 4, And
but to see how some of that plays into their health, and then with
everything,
Jace, you had him, and
it was totally different.
So no vaccines for Jace?
No vaccines, absolutely not. Nope. In fact, no, and we'll touch on that in a different show, but I really found out what my rights were and that I could say no to everything. So he did not leave our room at the hospital. No circumcision, no meds, and then I thought I'm going to have this great baby and put him in a bassinet. He's just going to sleep all night. We're going to transfer him to a crib. Well, that went out the window because I was also anti-co-sleeping. Still, even though I was crunchy, I was like, nope, need my kid well. That went out the window, so we took on co-sleeping, which is a whole new ball game to me. And plus, I started traveling a lot, all different kinds of things. But so I had him, and then we had Jackson, and Jackson's was even a little bit easier. My pregnancies were hands down were completely different. My births were very different. My healing time was very different.
So what's Jackson's story?
So Jackson's story...
2.5 hours with Jace.
Yeah, 2.5 hours with Jace. Jackson was out 40 minutes after we got to the hospital.
That's so crazy.
He flew right out. My husband actually did not make it to the hospital for the birth. I went camping, and he came a week early. My mom, who acts as my doula, was there. And we were 3 hours from home, and so we called my husband, and I said, I think it's time to go in. And yeah, it went from 0 to 60. He was out. I did not have to have an episiotomy. I did not have any pain meds. In fact, I didn't even do any ibuprofen or anything after the fact with him. Not because I got tougher. I'd like to say it's because I put my big girl pants on. No, I just didn't need it. I was up taking baths. In fact, we went back to the campground the next day, and we were hanging out with the baby. It was worlds of difference.
A little bit different than 17 years ago.
12 years ago. I do not have a 17-year-old yet.
What am I thinking 17? Oh, you were.
Because I was 17. That's going to scare me.
You're not that old.
I'm not that old.
You're not that old.
Yeah, so...
Anyway, completely different.
Completely different.
3 completely different stories.
Yep. Yeah. With Jace, we did not start food till he was a year, which is crazy because everybody's like, that's crazy. But yeah, he had...
And you feel like you should have the little picture on Instagram of you...
Baby's first
feeding
food.
Your baby at 4 months.
Yeah, and we didn't know, as a mom, I didn't know any better. I didn't know, I didn't even know I should be researching and looking into the fact that the gut doesn't heal till they're a year old. So, why would I hold off? Why,
And those are some of the things that you're going to touch on. Getting into more details about each of these things, the birth plan, the circumcision, saying no at the hospital, breastfeeding.
Yeah, well, so...
How to travel when you're breastfeeding.
How long have we been talking about this?
A long time.
Yeah, a long time. Since I had him. Yeah. And I was going to start this show. And I just thought I didn't have anything to say. And then my sister actually contacted me this weekend and said she's traveling for work for the first time. She's a first-time mom. Little one is about 4 months old, and what does it mean to travel with breast milk? And did the pressure changes affect it? And all this stuff, and I thought,
like, you just had the answer right away.
This is second nature to me. Yeah, I just wrote her this big text.
You just did it a couple weeks ago.
And I'm going to tag her this, and she's going to be like, what? She has no idea. And I sent her this text, and she's like, that's so helpful, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, this is things that are second nature. And I would love a resource for moms to go to that's kind of a little more structured, because when I get talking, I can kind of just go on
go out
and on and on and on.
All sorts of different topics.
Yeah.
But if you're a little bit more concise about what particular topic you're talking about, and then you can send people to YouTube to
so we'll start a YouTube playlist. So we're gonna call it New Mom Monday.
Yes.
Which happens to be the day that the baby is here at the Wellness Way. He's real difficult, as we can see. He comes every Monday.
So good.
We had backup for today to come and grab him if he started, but he's just here. So taking ideas for what mom wants to see. We've got a handful in our pocket, from chiropractic to traveling and pumping, to birth plans. What was knowing your rights?
Knowing your rights.
Some of the other things that we had said at
even VBACs.
VBAC stuff. So
and if it's worth all the effort. Just things, and I think you just assume to do what everybody else is doing. You just assume to do the cereal, or stop breastfeeding at this month, or things like that. And to have that different perspective of the way that we think at the Wellness Way is just, it's different thinking. And so to have more people with that thought process, sharing that, and how you've lived it. You've lived it from after Bella.
And both of my boys can't handle dairy through my breast milk. So completely dairy-free, which tells me, with Bella, wait, I had all this milk, and she probably was gassy and couldn't tolerate it because of the dairy that I was consuming, but nobody was there to tell me that.
Right, so you just did the Mylicon drops.
We just did the Mylicon drops, and then the Tylenol when she was super crabby, and then give them cereal, and...
That's another thing, give them Tylenol before their shots. Don't do the shots. There's so many different topics.
Well, and I remember, because I went through this whole process over the last 12 years, I remember all the feelings I went through, sure, I hear the mom say, sure, you talk big saying don't do anything with fevers, but you have Dr. Flynn in your back pocket, and you have Dr. Jason in your back pocket, and you have your mom, and you have everybody on your side, but what if I don't? Where do I go for that information? And I really started realizing it when I got vocal, the texts I was getting, and that I had something to say. So,
and just to be that encouragement and support, we are those people in your corner.
Well, I live in a bubble. I like to think that I live in a bubble. My best friend is the other CEO here, and my coworkers I all work with. My mom, because the Wellness Way changed her life, lives in this bubble, and so we all have our little bubble, and I forget that there's people out there that are eating McDonald's. My daughter had a friend over the other day, and I can hear him, and she's like, no, I'm not kidding you, I've never had McDonald's. And her friend walks out, they're 7th graders. She probably did when she was 4, 3, 2, before we knew any better. And not that we don't ever do a burger from Culver's if we have to or whatever, but, and her friend goes, Bella's trying to tell me that she's never been to McDonald's. And I'm like, yeah, she hasn't.
She probably hasn't.
I mean, dropped dead, her friend was like,
what do you eat?
You were telling the truth. What do you eat? So.
But there are real normal people out there that aren't in the bubble, or that are just
and that's what I realized. I didn't think
think
anybody wanted to hear what I said, because I live in this bubble. But then you came on. A year ago today.
There's some stories there too.
And your testimony is on. People should look back and see your testimony. And
right. I mean, and it's intimidating at first, and just assuming that you have to do it all right away.
But that's why we did that Start Summer campaign.
I mean, there are so many things to start with, and even with this as a new mom, even if there's just one thing that's going to help somebody know that they can say no to vaccines at birth, or know that they don't have to go to a well checkup.
Knowing that there's different levels, that you're not going to be shamed. For example, I don't cloth diaper. I think it's awesome. I know it's super good for our environment.
But you're not that crusty. crunchy.
No, that's not that crunchy. That's a time thing.
Oh.
And for a while I was feeling bad, like, you don't cloth diaper, you're not a crunchy mom if you don't cloth diaper, you're not saving the environment. Now we do use better diapers, we use Honest, but I have to pick and choose, and I still am a full-time working mom and saving the world. It's my goal.
And it's like, and I've
so there's different levels.
There's so many different levels.
Yeah.
And just start somewhere for some people. And to be a resource for you to be a resource to people to look to and be
Just
like,
crazy.
What did you do when this happened? And I do that actually with Christy, with Dr. Patrick's wife, every once in a while. Well, and now that I'm here, Megan ask any of my coworkers that are crunchy moms and say, my kid has a fever. Do I do Tylenol or should I not? And they're
sometimes
like, no,
you just need that reassurance.
Even if you know better, it's still nice to know that you have like at least that one person that's going to support you in doing what you haven't done before. Yeah.
And that's what I realized because I was in the bubble. People need that.
Yeah.
And so Mondays at 2. We're gonna start at 2, right?
Okay,
we're gonna stick with the 2 o'clock.
And we didn't do the whole like, let me see who's on.
Oh, we didn't.
We were supposed to do that. Oh. So let's see who's on now that we're almost done. Let's see. Brianna, Jen, Elizabeth. Excuse me. Mel, Dawn, Patrick, Jade, Stacy. Lindsay says, I love this. Being a new mom, I wonder all of this. Alicia says, the gut doesn't heal till a year old. I've never heard that.
Yeah.
Struggling with my little guy's issues, eczema and allergies, and he's 8 months.
So skin issues come from the gut. We were actually maybe we should do it sooner than later, so I'm getting a lot of questions on that.
On the gut thing?
On the gut thing. It's skin, foods and how they can affect, and, there's different things. So, for example, we'll touch on that for 2 seconds, just to give everybody a little preview. Yeah. If you're breastfeeding, solely breastfeeding, you can test the mom for her food allergies.
Okay. Do you have to wait a certain amount of time after birth?
The goal would be, 3 months because of your immune system, but if your little guy's having that many issues,
Just do it right
test the mom. If you're already introducing in foods and you still have the ability to breastfeed, we can kind of pull back on some of those foods to see if it helps eczema. But that's what all our clinics do. And any of the questions that I'm not comfortable answering, we can, grab one of the docs and bring them on or throw them on. So that's good stuff.
So would you suggest just the naturally inflammatory foods to just start eliminating that right away, or just get tested?
I would always start with, of course, gluten. We're already gluten-free, and then dairy and soy. I'm already soy-free as well. Dairy is a huge kicker for breastfed babies.
We were traveling in Nashville, right?
Yes.
And we went to some restaurant, and it was like, I want that dressing, or I want that salad, but I can't have the cheese. And it's because that, it's going to make your
Well, do I want a crabby baby who's not going to sleep?
Yeah.
Or do I want to have that, so.
Right. It's not about you all the time.
Yeah,
sometimes it is.
Should be. Just kidding.
But it's going to be. Did you like that segue? It's going to be about Bree, and it's going to be about you, because she's going to help you answer questions and be a resource for you. And all of these videos will end up on YouTube so that you can point people to that when people are saying, why don't you do Tylenol, or why don't you do vaccines, or things like that. And I know Bree and I, we've talked about wanting to have that resource available, like a hard piece of paper copy of where you're getting your information.
Yeah, and I'm going to try to have that ready, share my birth plan, share where I'm getting my information from, because that was one thing. I have a super supportive family, and my husband's family is actually super supportive. His mom has celiac, so she completely understands food allergies, which is phenomenal. She made me this dairy-free peach cobbler the other day. It was super sweet.
And that's another good thing about all being on the same page.
I do realize that not a lot of people have that. So they need, or their husbands. We joke, I don't even know if my husband's family knows this, but on our third date, this is totally crazy. I said, just so you know if this ever goes anywhere. We're 22 years old, and and I said, just so you know, if this ever goes anywhere and we get married and have kids, we're not vaccinating them. I'm talking second or third date. I'm already just so you know. And people are first off, you're nuts. But it was a big thing for me because I already knew what I already knew. A lot of people don't know that. So resources for that. And meeting in the middle, I'd like to be that, because I've been in the middle. I've done both ends. We need a picture, a graphic. Yeah. The crunchy spectrum,
The crunchy spectrum. This is where I am.
Yeah.
At the beginning.
And I've been on both sides. I'd like to, help them. Okay, Dr. Flynn said something once, profound. Every once in a while he's got something.
Every once in a while.
I did a class before I worked here with my mom, and he said, I'm here on the crunchy, he didn't use the term crunchy because this was like 15 years ago, I don't even know if that was the name. I'm here on the crunchy spectrum and you're here. And if I can just get you to here, I've done awesome. And then you just keep moving. I mean, I remember when I was so excited that I went to organic Kraft mac and cheese. And now I went to, like Annie's organic mac and cheese. And then you go gluten-free, and then it's like, hey, I just made homemade mac and cheese. But
see, I still haven't gotten to that point. I'm still at like the Annie's Dia.
Oh.
Like the Dia stuff? Oh, yeah, we don't like that either.
Yeah, I'm trying. I just, and a no mac and cheese. If we could just stop talking about mac and cheese, please.
Dr. Jason is concerned because our legs are crossed.
I knew it. Yours are crossed. Mine are.
Okay, wait, is this better than
So,
completely crossed?
I think like 3 weeks from now, Dr. Jason's coming on, and he's going to do chiropractic and babies.
That'd be perfect.
And he doesn't know this yet.
Okay, now he knows. If he's watching, now he knows.
And we're going to adjust the baby. Live, because everybody's, I realize, again, for me, it's second nature. So Kim and Jason are some of our best friends, so we get a sniffle, and I'm just like, I'll be over in 10 minutes, you can adjust the kids. People are like, you do what? And they do what? And isn't it scary? And don't they crack? And I'm like, no. But, so we're gonna
yeah, that'll be a fun one.
We're gonna discredit some of those myths.
Some of those myths.
So, hands-on training.
So I will ask him after the show if this is better.
Yeah.
If this is better for your hips or something. But
what makes my legs look better?
That's really what it's about. Do our legs look?
I mean, the show is for moms, right?
Like this or like this. Okay. What is one advice you would give to a pregnant mom on her third baby?
Our third baby. So I would go to a video that we did. All I remember is I don't smile the whole time, and because I'm super nervous. And it was 5 tips, 5 game changers for my pregnancy. And squats were one of them, and magnesium and vitamin D. So yeah, I would start with what are your biggest issues. You could list off your biggest tip, but if I say, oh, here's my biggest one is magnesium because it kept me regular, and the mom goes, oh, I'm having regular stools just fine. I guess I would see.
So it depends on what you need.
Depends on where you're at, but. Yeah.
All right, a couple other comments here. Lindsay, that we were talking about earlier about feeding her little guy who's 8 months old.
Yes.
She said she's not planning on feeding him until he's a year old, but what foods would you recommend starting on?
Avocado.
Yes, that's one of my favorites too, avocado.
Yeah, for sure. We started right before a year and now my 3-year-old will take an avocado and eat it with a spoon.
Yes, mine too.
And it's so, like, he'll walk around with a carrot stick. Yesterday he said, I'm going to try celery. He spit it out, plain celery to a 3-year-old, did not go. Yeah. But then I have this 12-year-old, she has to force herself to eat veggies because she knows they're good for her, but not having grown up. But that's a good thing to end on, because we should probably let these people get back to work. Yeah. But it's starting somewhere. So she did not grow up on avocados and broccoli, little trees, as my 3-year-old calls them. So it doesn't come second nature, but there's things that we can do, and she's learned over the how long. So if your child is 4 or 4 months, yes, it's easier to start when they're little, but you can always start somewhere.
Yeah, start somewhere, that's huge.
But
alrighty, well, so next Monday?
Next Monday,
same time?
at 2.
Same place?
Yeah.
All right.
And we'll announce ahead of time.
Next Monday, and we'll announce the topic.
Yeah, so if anybody watches this and comments, and
we'll do the chiropractic
specific
one in a couple weeks, and
they can message the Wellness Way page if they have any ideas. They can comment if they have anything they want to private message us on, because they're not comfortable putting it in the comments. I'd be happy to reach out and answer questions after the fact.
So we're here for you. Bree is here for you every Monday. So let us know if you have any questions or topics.
So nobody watch this, and then I don't have to do this again.
Yeah, but let's make sure that she needs to do it again, because she's good at it. All right.
Awesome.
Deal?
Thanks.
All
Thanks,
right.
Nancy, for being here.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, I'll be behind the camera for the next one.